Started, shall we? Now, as everybody knows, first you start with the head, and this is what everybody says, you start with a circle. Now that's, of course, basically your skull cap, and then you extend it down. Now, anime doesn't follow the normal proportions of humans, as we all know, just by the eyes by itself. So it's not your standard head. So that's typical. That's your skull cap, the circle, and then your ellipse right there. Now, this is where the circle. This is the bridge of the nose. And then you go slightly above the bridge would be the top of your nose, and these are your eye levels right here. Of course, right here would be your mouth area, and right on the bottom of the bridge of the nose, between the mouth and the bridge, would be the actual nose. So that's your proportion area there. And of course, like I said, this is anime. This is not your standard human proportions. Now, same thing with the eyes. Your eye would be right here, and of course the other eye would be normally right here. And in normal human proportions, there's something that they call the third eye. This is for normal human proportions. This is anime, so it doesn't follow it. But in normal human proportions, you would have the eye here, a third eye in the center, and then your other eye. And that's normal human proportion, but this doesn't follow that rule. And of course, next, you extend your line going down. So that's your neck area right here. And then the body, when you draw females, their shoulders drop down steeper than males do. And this is where the triangle goes. And you've heard me talk about triangles before. And that's the top of the triangle. And right here, where the triangle ends, would be your shoulders. Right here. So as you can see, your basic anime anatomy is basically there. Hair, of course, is depending on the character. In anime, that's basically what changes everything. So that's your basically your mannequin structure. Now, when you start with the eyes, Ezra has her eyes are a cross between villains and heroes. I'll explain that later on. And then this eye, I didn't put much effort into it, because that is where she usually wears her hair dropping down on one side. Okay. And then remember the bridge of the nose. At the tip of the bridge of the nose, you draw a line slightly in the middle between the bridge of the nose and the top of her nose. And her nose, she has a typical Vegeta nose, as I would call it, where it's not a complete nose. It's just a line. Most of her angles, she doesn't have a full nose like most characters do, which is great because that makes it nice and simple. And Ezra doesn't always smile, so that's the bottom of her lip, and that's her lip right there. Okay? And then her hair. Ezra's hair is real simple. Her skull cap is the beginning of her hair, and once you hit the ridge right here, so it's her ridge, okay? Now, if you notice right here, this is where normally the ears would be. Ezra doesn't like I said, this is anime proportions, not human proportions. Keep that in mind. Where normally ears would be, they should be sticking out, but Ezra's doesn't. It makes her look cooler, I guess. I'm not sure, but that's how they do her. So you just go a little off the circle on the sides, right here, and then you drop down. Sides, drop down, and that's how she is. So let's follow her hair. Okay. So you can see that's her hairline right there. And then let's solidify her cheek. I mean her jawline. Now here she usually wears armor. So you just draw like an oblong over there, and that would be your guideline for her collar. Now you already have the base of her neck right there. We're just highlighting it right now. And of course, we just extend her collar down. Now, Ezra's left shoulder is exposed over here. This is your standard shoulder. Over here, normally she wears a shoulder plate that protects her, like so. So as you can see, you already have the basic Ezra Scarlet. She's she's actually a very simple character to draw. And let's put everything what we know right here into action, okay? Now when I draw, I'm not sure if you guys saw in the other video, I always put stacks of sheets of paper underneath, and what that does is it prevents the wood grain or whatever surface you're at from imprinting on your drawing, so at least you have some sort of cushion. Okay, so now we're gonna redo her, and then we'll show you basically how to do it, you know, how it's supposed to look like without the pencil. Now, a lot of people start with the eyes. It's a good start. Eyes are a good start, because sometimes eyes are easy to screw up. People ask me, why do you start with the hair, or why do you start with the nose, why do you start with... Because I get that comment because they basically wondering why I don't have a consistent starting point. And the reason for that is every drawing this is different. Meaning you start with what is most difficult for you. And what that means is, so let's say I'm drawing Goku. Now Goku has a very complicated hair structure, and so does Vegeta. And so basically I would probably start with their hair, because put it bluntly, their hair is actually sometimes it's more difficult for others, and for others sometimes it's easier. So you do it what you think it's more difficult for you. So in this case I started with her eye. Okay. Now again, we follow the Ezra Scarlet rule where she doesn't have ears. I don't know, I didn't make her up. I mean, she does have ears. They just don't show it very often. Now here is in anime, it's all different. So you just have to basically either have your own style or copy the style, depending on whether you're mimicking or you're drawing your own style. For tutorials, obviously we're going to do mimicking, otherwise you won't be drawing who you want to draw the way that you want everybody to see it as that character. So we're drawing the typical Ezra Scarlet right here. This is actually based on the actual anime, not the manga. Alright, so basically what you're seeing is I'm basically doing Ezra the exact same way I showed you on how to do her, from her collar to her neckline to her armor. Now, if anybody wonders, like, how come you don't like using pencils? Well, for starters, if you use pencils, you're basically training yourself to fail. I mean, of course, others would be, you know, against this. It's a matter of opinion and style, I guess. And that's basically Ezra Scarlet. Very simple, very easy. Just remember the basics. You have your circle, her jawline with the ellipse. Here, let me highlight her jawline, and then we basically have, like, I would say it's quarter of the way you do a line, and that's the top of her eye. That would be the top of her nose, and between her lip line and between the top of her nose would be her actual nose, and that would be her ridge. Okay, and the bottom of the middle of her ridge of her nose would be the base of your eyes. Okay, and remember the triangle, that's very important. You draw the triangle from the base of her neck, and you drop them down. That's about 30 degrees, and that's where her shoulder starts. That part, this part, the shoulder part, and the head structure are usually, you can actually use in actual human proportions rather than anime. So those are good points there. And just practice and just keep on practicing. The hardest part, to be honest with you, is getting the head structure, and the eye placement, and the mouth. To most artists who are used to this is easy. It's second nature. But if you're a beginning artist, this is where you really have to practice. The body, forget the body. The body is actually easier than everything else, and I will go into the body once you master this later on. And Ezra Scarlet, thank you. Have a good day.